Our functions. So thinking of a function as an equation, we've talked about relations and how they can relate. We can write them as an equation, we can write them as a table, but we can also write them as equations. So functions specifically, again, remember a function for each input, it has only one output. So we're going to look at a function rule. A function rule is an equation that describes the relationship between the inputs, and we thought about our inputs as our x value. It's also our independent variable, compared to our outputs, which is our dependent variable, that's our y variable also. So input, independent, our x value, output, dependent is our y value. So you've seen this in earlier grades, kind of an input-output box. If I input -2, here is my function rule. Out will come -6 when I put that -2 into that function. So we're going to be asked to write a function rule for each expression. Remember, we can talk about a function rule as writing it in words. So here are some functions in words. The output is 1/4 of the input. So the output is our y, there's our equal sign, 1/4 of the input. We're going to be multiplying there. That of typically tells us we're going to be multiplying something. 1/4 of the input. The input is our x value. So there's our equation to represent that function. And the second one, the output is 8 more than the input. So the output, our y, is 8 more than the input. It's 8 more than that, which means we're going to be adding 8 to that. So I'm going to take my input and I'm going to add 8 to that. So again, we should be able to go back and forth from one thing to the other here. I should be able to go from English to an actual equation. And then let's put some of those equations into work here. We're going to evaluate each of these functions, substitute the value of x into the function. This should be old hat for you. You guys should know how to do this. We're going to take an equation, we're going to plug in a variable. We've done this with tables, with equations to make a table all repeatedly over and over and over again. So let's start with y equals 4x minus 1. I'm going to take the x out and replace it with a 5. I'm going to substitute that in there, and then I'm going to do the math. There's really no algebra to do here since the y is already isolated. I do 4 times 5 gives me 20. 20 minus 1, 19. Take my second equation. Y equals 10x. I'm going to substitute the 5 in for the x. I end up with y equals 10 times 5, which is equal to 50. And my last equation, y equals 7 minus 3x. That's y equals 7 minus 3, and then parentheses with my 5. I took the x out and put the 5 in its place. So 7 minus 15 gives me -8. So again, I should not only be able to write a function rule from English, I should be able to evaluate that function rule when I've been given a value for my x.